July the 5th, 2025. Guys, let me say something before I get into this video. I listened to the video about Darren Kuyu the same time you did. I recorded it with headphones on, and what I didn't realize was that the audio was so terrible on it. So what I'm going to do, and you don't have to rewatch it, but I'll repost it. I'm going to run it through my recording studio and some of the compressors and things like that and clean it up. If you talk for an hour, especially at my age, you're going to see volume dips and things like that. And I thought it really sucked. Now, the information was good. I enjoyed doing it, but watch for another posting of it with very much. I'm not going to re-record. I'm just going to run it through the processors. I should have done it anyway, but I was already tired and I didn't realize it was that bad. Now, back to this video. Texas, you need a break. It's not as intense as it was, but you're not getting the chance to dry out. You lost a lot of folks there. And if I'm not mistaken, guys, it's tragic in the sense that, was it 2020 or 21? Someone look it up for that camp there. It happened 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe I'm wrong on the year, but it has happened before. Now, this was a record rainfall. They were on there talking about it a little later this afternoon or this morning when I saw it, and they said that it all occurred, a couple hours before daylight. And the warnings when they went to sleep were not nearly as intense. It was probably a flood watch, maybe a flood warning, but not an urgent flash flood warning, I don't think, because no one heard that warning. It didn't go out until it was too late. And people that were trying to get into the camp were cut off by the floods. A lot of people lost their lives, a lot of damage done. But it did happen, and if you look at that, other than the map they show you online, if you Google Earth or just look up that camp there, you'll see in that Texas hill country, they were almost in the valley because there was a ridge running behind it in a big curve, and so the water was forced. It couldn't just spread completely out, and that's not visible in the images that you're seeing online that much in the news. So it was kind of like in a valley on one side especially, and it's a tragedy. And people learn from that, because when I talk about flash flooding, how dangerous it is, more people die in flash floods than they do in hurricanes. And it's just, look it up, look up the stats on it. And we just got proof of that. And what a sad, sad tragedy. Anyway, still not getting a break. Let's look at over to the right, and I'm going to leave this image up, but I'm going to switch to infrared for you guys in Texas and along the East Coast here. But looking over here at Tropical Storm Chantel, very powerful looking now. It looks like the upper northeast quadrant is where the most storms are. You can see where the rotation is here. It's hard to define an exact center at this point, but I've seen it, and you've seen it many times. We talked about it. The wind shear you're seeing coming here, which, by the way, is mixed with a lot of Canadian wildfire smoke, and going out into the Atlantic. Look at the different tint. Anyway, this is the top east quadrant. So your drier edge is what you're seeing probably in Myrtle Beach area right now, with winds coming down the beach from the northeast, blowing everything down the beach to the right, to the south, and down into Florida, you're seeing it being pulled off. And when you start seeing this tail come through, that's when we see the tornadoes. Remember, guys, always in the tail of these storms. Why? Because a lot of this pressure has moved above it. This spin right here would keep anything from moving into this area. But when we get to this point, see what's happening? And every hurricane I've seen come up through this area has left a lot of very quick pop-up tornadoes in Florida before all was said and done. Now, this thing is going through cycling. We'll be able to tell it in the infrared we're about to switch to right now. We're also going to look at the information about the rip currents and the tide levels. The last time I checked before that last video, 1 to 3 feet in most of the areas, but 3 foot, it can damage your boats if your boat's a foot off the water in some of these bays and rivers attached to the ocean itself. So that's something to be. I've seen 3 foot tides or 3-foot storm surges, excuse me, tear a lot of wood off of the pier in Perdido Key down at Southwind Marina. Many times, at just about every serious storm. But let's switch to infrared and take a look at this. Now, again, let's switch to Texas. You can see just when you think you're getting a break and you're seeing it dying off here, in the last few hours, you're starting to get storms from the north. It doesn't look like the flash flooding is just not allowing it to dry out and to let people get in there. And I'm not sure how intense it is right there, guys. If you're in the Texas area, come into the comments, because one of the young kids I saw in a news broadcast this morning, he survived it, but he said he stayed awake all night because the lightning was so intense. He was scared. So let us know how that's going on. It's a terrible tragedy. The weather's changing, guys. So when you start to see a storm move up in here day after day, watch for it, especially when it's tropical rain. Remember, I said it's been, for the last few days, said it's coming from Tropical Storm Barry that went into Mexico. And it just, of course, it got out of hand. They said it rose 28 to 30 feet in that first hour, 1 hour. Can you believe that? But that's because of that rounding ridge and that curve near that camp. Now, over to the right, storm is, again, recycling. You can see it. See where it's getting a little bit darker in the last few images right there at the top? That's higher clouds. So it recycled down through the day. Now it's starting to recycle back up. What I am seeing, and it may change, I mean, we're going to look at the spaghetti models. I haven't done that yet either. It's been a long day. Was the storm was initially set to come in probably close to Myrtle Beach, somewhere right in this area. And we're seeing, again, the counterclockwise rotation, guys, sweeping down your beaches. But the way that this section is moving, it may move into North Carolina. Just saying, but we're going to look at those models. Just hang in there a moment. Now, this update from the National Hurricane Center is about an hour and a half old, 4:33 p.m. Eastern Time today. It is 5:11 p.m. Central. Here's Chantel. So the reason I said that, it's moved in an hour and a half slightly. But the maximum sustained winds, 45 miles an hour. Central pressure is 1,006. Movement is north at 7 miles per hour. And that's what it looks like to me. If it continues just that northern section of where it's at, it may come in along the border, but all the storms, again, are on the northeast quadrant. That's going to throw the power of the storm into North Carolina for sure. Now, if I were along the Outer Banks, I would be moving out. It's not a hurricane, but there's a lot of weakened structures there from some of your other storms, and you know how easily it floods. It might be a good time to go inland a little bit and get a room and get a nice meal and watch the weather. I wouldn't want to be in those beach houses. It doesn't matter. The weather is changing on this planet. Now, this came in about an hour and 12 minutes ago. And what we saw this morning, we had 1 to 3 foot storm surge. Let me pull that back up. This is from Modesto Beach up to Surf City. Now it's 1 to 2. That's good. Now, what I'm looking at, though, is for them to increase this storm. Now, I may be wrong. We watched it a long time, hadn't we? This storm surge to move further up the North Carolina coast, out to the Outer Banks, and possibly increase. Why? Because that section of storms is going to be in that quadrant. The wind coming straight in will push your storm surge up, right? It's strengthening because it's in the Gulf Stream right now. But I think it's going to move forward, so don't let your guard down. This is good news. Normally, you'd see it going from 1 to 3 to 4 to 6 or whatever. This is good, but again, this came out an hour and a half, 15 minutes or so ago, and we see the storm strengthening in that top cloud layer. Now, this is what they call the U.S. Rip Current Risk Chart. It's kind of new for this year, and you can see even over in California, we got some storms offshore out there that are probably pushing in some higher waves in current. The red is high, yellow is moderate, and your gray area is no data, unless it's light gray like up around Maryland, Vermont, then that's a low chance of rip currents. But let's pull this up and look a little closer. Here is Chantel, and this has changed slightly. You've got a moderate risk of rip currents from down in Florida here, almost up to northeast Florida. Then it goes red in this section. Then it goes back to moderate until the area where the storm's setting here now, but the storms are up here. See that? That rip current risk goes back to high. Then because of the angle here, I guess it goes back to low right in this section. But again, the quadrant of the storm coming in is going to be where they have the high rip current risk in North Carolina. Now let's pull it down just a little bit. Look at the Outer Banks there in the moderate. Coming up, what is this, Long Island, excuse me. You got moderate rip current problems. And all the way from Delaware, New Jersey, all the way up. And this gray is low, but that's a chance of rip currents. Now the red areas, if the people aren't listening and watching the weather and making sure, then we're going to see this, some people in the news or their kids that they weren't watching close enough. And that really sucks. It's like, again, leaving your kid in a hot car, your pet. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't you swim in it if you don't know what to look for in a rip current. It's very easy. It's visible from the entire beach of that area if you know what to look for. Most do, but they don't pay attention. Now, this is the potential for the greatest flash flood risk over the next 3 days. And nothing is in the orange, which is 40%, or the pink, which is 70%. But we do get into the 15% chance of it, going from Charleston in the big loop here back to just east of Charlotte through Raleigh-Durham and coming back out north of Wilmington. And in the green areas, there's a marginal risk, at least 5%. So be careful with that. Texas did not expect what they got. If so, they would have probably shut down that girls' camp and blocked off some of the roads. Again, the oceans are heating up. This is the first storm to hit the continental U.S., and we're in July 5th. Sometimes we'll see these at the end of May and through June. So the heat's there. And the Gulf Stream, again, what we're dealing with coming through here is going through a very warm Gulf of Mexico before it exits and moves north up along the shore. Now, this has been out an hour and 18 minutes. It's from Sky Tower down in Florida, guys. And they're showing the storm here. And it's strengthening. Coming in Sunday around 2 a.m. and being at 50 miles an hour. Notice it's at 45, moving north at 7 miles per hour. It's not moving northeast like they're showing here. Just my observation. And it may be about to turn, I don't know. But then it loops up towards Raleigh as a tropical low. That would be occurring, the Raleigh situation, that's Monday or tomorrow night, or 2 hours after tomorrow night, Monday at 2 a.m. at night. Now, Sunday at 2 a.m., what time is that? Here, that is nighttime. Those are the most dangerous, so be careful with that. And again, up to 50 mile per hour storm, you're not a hurricane, but the water spouts, the flash flooding, those dangers, and the inland tornadoes all remain a problem. But guys, we're watching it. You watch it. I just wanted to update this. I'm going to be kind of keeping an eye on this thing in the next few hours just to see if it makes this turn or not. You watch it. I'm watching it, and it's a heads up. Be safe.